Welcome to episode 80. It's great that you're here with me. Today's episode is such an honest and inspiring conversation about career change, leadership, and creating success on your terms. I'm joined by a previous client, Sarah Warrington, who started her career in accountancy before realising very quickly that she was on the wrong path. Since then, she's become a marketing leader with over 2 decades of experience in higher education and edtech. She's driven by building high-performing teams and creating environments where people can thrive. Now, outside of work, she's a powerhouse too. She's a volunteer club welfare officer for her local swim squad and a big advocate for getting children moving. A mum of 2 girls, you'll also find her running, paddleboarding and adding to her almost 1,500-day streak learning German. In this conversation, we're going to find out how she does it all, and we're also going to talk about knowing when you've outgrown a role, the courage it takes to leave a safe sector, navigating changing sector while balancing family and flexibility, why compassionate leadership is a strength, not a weakness, and how clarity and confidence can completely change the trajectory of your career. Sarah's also going to share her experience of coaching, the mindset shifts that helped her move forward, and how she negotiated the flexible working setup that mattered most to her. There is so much wisdom in this conversation, especially if you're currently feeling stuck, questioning what next, or wondering whether you can really have a career that fits both your ambition and your life. Let's dive in. Hello, Sarah. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on the podcast. I'm really excited about having our conversation today. Would you mind just diving in and telling everybody a little bit about your career journey and what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for inviting me to come along and talk to you today, Sarah. It's always very lovely. So I currently work as head of marketing at a UK higher education institution. It's a private institution and part of a wider university group with an institution in Germany, one in Canada and one in the UK, which is the one that I primarily work for, Walbrook Institute London. And I've been with the organisation about 4 years. I was the first person who was in the UK, which is very exciting. So it's been quite a journey over those 4 years. But prior to that, I'd worked at PwC, was where I started as a graduate in accountancy. That definitely wasn't for me. I decided that I wanted to do something else and moved into higher education, where I've been working for the last 2 decades, crazily. And that was in a variety of different roles, starting in career services, going through alumni relations, and finally finding my way into marketing, which is where I've stayed ever since.
Yes, and of course that's where we met, isn't it?
Yes.
'Cause I think we worked together back in 2021, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And you were at the University of Southampton.
I was at Portsmouth then, so I moved from Southampton to Portsmouth.
That's right. Which we're going to dive into a bit more. Really interesting that you started in accountancy and then you realised that wasn't the right thing for you, and now obviously in a specialism that you love. What do you think has been the key moments for you in your career so far?
I think probably that first move out of accountancy. I'd done it for 18 months. I knew it wasn't for me, and making that decision that actually now I should move quickly, because otherwise I was going to get on that track. It's, the promotions and everything, work in accountancy is very structured, and I felt that if I didn't move then, it would probably be quite hard to move. So that was a really good opportunity. I really loved events. I wanted to work in education because I'm really passionate about people learning, and I found the role that led me into higher education. And then it was a bit of a work through, and that was quite a natural progression. I felt I honed in on the things that I really liked about each role and moved through. But I would say the next big turning point was really that decision to leave public sector higher education, because I'm now working for a private institution. That was certainly a big turning point. I knew that I wanted to move back into private business. I thought that meant I'd move away from education at the time, but actually it turned out that there was this whole edtech middle ground that I'd never explored before that came out through our coaching, and that's where I ended up.
Which sounds really exciting. And I love that. I love the fact that you were brave after 18 months, which is a good chunk of time in your early career, to step away. Because a lot of people just end up getting on that treadmill and then realising 5-10 years have gone and they really don't like what they do. So I think the fact that you were brave and went, no, I need to do something else, is inspirational. And obviously in the university sector, as you're right, you do progress. It's quite structured, isn't it? You can progress within the
You can progress within your brands, and also there's quite a good opportunity to move between departments. So at Southampton I worked in 3 different departments, and when I moved to Portsmouth into more of a campaigns role, so there was that opportunity to move around because universities are such big places. There's lots of different opportunities. Could look at the transferable skills, already knew the institution. That was some really good opportunities within organisations like that, though I think it's much harder at the moment in the sector, unfortunately.
Yeah, definitely. And what about the leadership part? When did you that desire to step into or shift into a more leadership role?
Yeah, so I think that was definitely when I was in the alumni relations team at Southampton. I was probably in my early mid-20s, I would say, and it happened a little bit by accident. There was an opportunity to manage somebody, so I took that on, and actually I discovered that I really enjoyed that. And then it really grew organically. I don't think I had a moment when I said, I want to be a manager, I want to be a leader. It happened by accident, probably because I had a really great manager at the time as well, and she encouraged that as a development opportunity for me. And then it's just grown from there. So from that one individual right through to managing much bigger teams that I do now.
What about the challenges in moving or progressing your career? What for you have been perhaps some of the things you've had to navigate to get to where you wanted to be?
I think one of the biggest things, and I think that came out with the coaching as well, was asking and telling people what you want and finding the right people to talk to. I think probably in the early days I was a bit more passive and telling people what I wanted, but not really asking directly for it or pushing for it or asking for training and things that I could do to progress. Just thinking that, if I do a good job, someone will notice and promote me, and obviously that's not generally how it works. In leadership roles, you need to be demonstrating more, you need to be asking, you need to be growing and getting a bit uncomfortable, and so that was definitely a lesson learned.
And that's a really great point, because a lot of people do think, if I get my head down and I just work really hard, I'll get promoted or I'll get offered that role. And you're right, so often it doesn't happen and you have to be driving it yourself. Was that hard for you? Did you have to dig deep to do that?
Yeah, definitely. So I was really lucky. When I was at the University of Southampton, I had an excellent managers, so they really helped me with it. I think in other places, you need to drive it more, you need to be more direct. And I think over time I've got much better with that, and probably through the coaching as well, actually, to have real clarity about what I wanted to do and therefore go and ask for it. And I ask for things now that I never would have done in my earlier career around salary, training, progression. And it does make me a bit uncomfortable sometimes to ask for those things. But if I don't ask for them, they're never going to happen.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. So let's talk about the coaching, because obviously it was quite a while ago that we worked together, 2021. I guess tell me what was driving you to think I could have some coaching to help me at this point in my career?
Actually, it was a friend of mine had seen a piece that you'd done, I think, with flexible working people, perhaps at the time. And I hadn't really thought about coaching ever. I didn't really know anything about it. But I was at a point where I knew something wasn't right, something needed to change. So I needed to do something to try and solve that. And then you popped up and came onto my radar, and I thought, okay, we'll give this a go and see what it's about, see if it helps.
Yeah, great. And Flexible Working People that Sarah is referring to is a Facebook group for people who want to work flexibly, and it's got lots of resources and jobs advertised, and I'll put a link in the show notes for people if they want to explore that. So you thought, yeah, something's got to change in my career. How long had you been feeling like that, do you think, before you took the plunge?
Probably about a year, I would say. I think I was feeling that I was doing a good job. I knew exactly what I was doing. I was in a role, I was very comfortable. But one of the things I was struggling with was that I wasn't learning, I wasn't growing. I was using the skills that I had, but I wasn't developing myself. And also I felt some tensions with the organisation I was working with, and that something wasn't quite right, something wasn't aligned. That started to build over sort of the 12 months prior to then me thinking, okay, let's really have a think about it.
I think that sense of not feeling aligned with what you're doing and the organisation creeps up on you, doesn't it? And then eventually you're just thinking, oh, this doesn't feel quite right. I need something to shift here for me. And you actually were part of the coaching group that I ran at that point, weren't you, with 5 other amazing women. What did you really want to get from that coaching experience? What was the outcome that you wanted to get?
I think that I wanted to know how I think I knew that I wanted to get a new role. I had decided that I wanted to tear things up. I didn't want to work in education anymore. I didn't really know what I wanted to do next. I didn't know how to do it. I knew there were some things that were really important to me. I'm a mum with 2 young children. I can't suddenly be going off to London every day. I'd worked compressed hours since I'd had my children, so I work full time, but I don't work on a Monday because I do things with the children and with school, and I wanted to keep that. And it felt, wow, I have all these things that are really important to me, and I've got them in my current role. So how on earth does that even exist anywhere else?
And that can be a real barrier for people, can't it? If you've got that kind of flexibility set up, which is really important, then that makes you think, oh gosh, am I stuck here? Because I can't see how I could replicate that elsewhere. What did the coaching give you that enabled you to move forward?
First of all, it gave me a great network of people, yourself and the others in the group. I really enjoyed the group coaching, and it was great to get different perspectives from everyone. I think that really helped. But for me personally, it gave me real clarity, both on what I wanted to do next and those things that were important to me, but also what the problem was with where I was at the moment, and identifying a values misalignment and really understanding myself better. So I would have said to you, of course I know myself. I know the things that are important to me. I know what these problems are, but actually some of the exercises and things that we worked through during coaching helped me identify things that I didn't even know they were obviously there, but I couldn't verbalise them, and I didn't recognise them in myself until we did the work.
But it's having that mirror held up, isn't
Yeah.
it? And you can see yourself really clearly. And I remember you, Sarah, you were so brilliant at pushing yourself out of your comfort zone and looking for opportunities to find out more about what was possible outside your current role. I remember you did a podcast, you went and talked to people who were doing kind of similar roles in different fields. What enabled you to do that, do you think, to take that brave approach to find out there?
I think it was a feeling of safety. But I did go out to other people. I did some almost like work experience with a charity in the women's sector, or I wrote LinkedIn articles, and you sort of got us to think about what's the worst that could happen if this went wrong, because I do have my inner critic in my head, and I learned a lot about her when we worked together. She likes to ask questions in order to stop me from moving forward. But you really got to think about, okay, if I do this, what could go wrong or what could go right? And actually, it opened up some really fantastic opportunities, and I had conversations and did things I wouldn't have done otherwise. And I do volunteering roles as well now, following off the back of that. And yeah, it really gave me the confidence and the safety, I think, to go out and give it a try. And also with the group coaching, that everyone else was giving it a try at the same time and could share the experiences that they were having too.
And so then you did make your shift, didn't you? Was it 6 to 8 months after the group finished that you got your new role?
Yes. Yeah, it was. It was the January of the following year, but I'd been through a career search sort of the 6 to 8 months after that. I remember at one point feeling like a bit overwhelmed by it, and we had our follow-up one-to-one conversation, which was really great. I was trying to do it through the school holidays as well as everything else. It's okay. I'd put too many things on my plate, and I'm quite well renowned for doing that. But okay, so have a break and then really set yourself a deadline for when you're going to start, which I decided was September, and went from there. And I remember one of the sayings in our group was, rejection is redirection. And actually all of the different interviews and conversations that I had helped me really build up to the one where the role I got now was it was a very intensive interview process, but my approach to it and how I felt about it had really evolved through that time.
Yeah, and I love that. Rejection is redirection. I'd forgotten about that. I love that. And I know the answer to this question, but did you manage to get the flexibility in your new role that you'd had in your previous role?
Yeah, I did. I still work compressed hours. I still have my Mondays to myself, and then I work full-time Tuesday to Friday. So it did exist.
And I'm guessing they didn't advertise it as that. You negotiated that.
Yes, yeah.
Which is great, very inspirational. I remember also that you, when you were thinking about you as a leader, you were really drawn to a compassionate leadership
Yes.
style. And I know that your team and enabling people to thrive is really important to you. How have you developed that, would you say, as you've moved into this head of marketing role?
I think the biggest turning point was actually during the coaching when we identified that actually that sort of leadership is a strength. Because I think I had a feeling people in the news and like very high powered leaders and the way they talk, they're quite forthright, can be very aggressive is not the right word, but a very different leadership style to my own. And it's like, do I need to grow to become that kind of leader in order to succeed? And identifying that actually no, I can be a compassionate leader. Having a name for it really helped me. So in my current role, I practice that every day, and I would like to think my team thinks so too. I have been told that I have a very emotional, intelligent leadership style, which I took as a real compliment because that's what I'm looking for. And I really believe that by listening to people, understanding them, helping them grow, helping them feel safe and secure at work and supported, actually they can go on and do better. I work in quite a high pressured environment. We turn things around very quickly. We have that startup mentality, even though we've been around for a while, where we're launching new products and things all of the time. But even though we work in that sort of situation, actually we're a very close-knit team. We really pull together. And I think that's because the compassionate leadership style builds that trust and connection with people that allows that to happen.
Yeah, I love that, because I think you're right that going against the grain, if you like, for leadership styles, being minority approach in terms of leadership, can feel hard, particularly if the culture is not embodying that. And maybe, I don't know, the university sector, it's perhaps not as obviously compassionate leadership style.
I think it probably varies. I would say I see it in my current organisation with an IU group. I see that much more. Very entrepreneurial people, happy to have difficult conversations, but with respect. I see that a lot, particularly in some of the very senior leaders within the group. In the public sector of higher education, I think there was a bit less of that.
And are there any leadership challenges for you working in a startup type environment?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's always so many different things to manage. There's always lots going on. There's lots of ideas, and trying to make sure that as a leader, you are focused on the things that are going to have the biggest impact and value to the business, because there's always going to be more things to be done in a day than it's possible to do. That is the biggest thing that I think is different in a more startup environment.
Yeah, so that constant pressure to keep delivering, keep embracing those ideas. Which leads me into my next question, because I know how busy you are outside of work as well. You've got 2 girls, you swim, you paddleboard, you're volunteering, you're learning German as well.
Yeah.
How do you maintain that balance when you have a demanding job that you're also doing in compressed hours?
Yeah, I think those things are some of the things that keep me going, though. It gives me energy, even though it is busy. If I can go out for a run or get on my paddleboard, actually some of the best ideas and some of the clarity come at those moments when you've stepped away from the computer. So they're really important to me. And also, I think with the volunteer work, so I'm a welfare officer for a swim squad that my children go to, which is a fantastic volunteer role. It's all about building community and things within the swim squad. And I really enjoy that and get energy from that as well. But it also, we're talking about young people and their lives and their sport. Actually, it puts my role of head of marketing in a bit of perspective as well.
I think that's 2 really important points. So one, I think what you've said about doing those things give you the opportunity to think differently and think creatively when you're not stuck at your computer. We've all had that experience when you're doing something completely different and you get that light bulb moment, don't you? So I think that's really powerful. And then the other thing about getting perspective on what you're actually doing when you're working with young people and seeing the challenges they have, but also the joy that they have being in the moment. It does put things in perspective in terms of careers.
Yeah.
And Sarah, if we just go back to the coaching, what would you say to somebody who is thinking about embarking on some coaching with me? What would you say to them?
Oh my goodness, I'd say absolutely go for it. For me, it has, I think maybe life-changing is the right word. It gave me confidence, it gave me clarity, it's really helped me understand my value and know that I can get the things that are important to me. I think as the job market gets harder and harder, it's so important to have that confidence in yourself, and it's much easier to go and find something if you know exactly what you're looking for. And I think it's almost a bit like therapy, working with a coach. I found it incredibly helpful, and I certainly recommend it to people, and I have recommended quite a number of other people to come and work with you as well, all of whom have found it really positive.
Thank you very much. And that was lovely. That actually made me feel quite emotional hearing that. And I've got one last question for you, Sarah, before I let you go. Obviously, the podcast is called Unstuck and Unstoppable. What does being unstuck and unstoppable mean to you?
It means having clarity, knowing what you want and going for it. And Unstuck and Unstoppable is exactly what I feel, having done the coaching work with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I love your definition of Unstuck and Unstoppable. I'm going to collect all these definitions and turn them into, I don't know, something inspirational. But thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's been great to catch up with you and chat about all things career and leadership with you.
Thank you so much for having me along. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Unstuck and Unstoppable. I hope Sarah's story has reminded you that you don't have to stay on a path just because it once made sense, and that asking for what you want in your career is not selfish, it's essential. One of the things I loved most about this conversation with Sarah was her definition of being unstuck and unstoppable. Having clarity, knowing what you want and going for it. Such a powerful reminder that confidence often comes after action, not before it. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love you to share it with someone else who might need to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe or leave a review, because it really helps more women discover the podcast. And if you're at that point in your career where something no longer feels aligned, but you're not sure what comes next, you can find out more about working with me at my website, Career Tree Coaching, and there's a link in the show notes. Until next time, stay curious, stay courageous, and keep moving towards the career and life that you want.